welcome back. Episode number 3. I know you guys have been waiting for it. Heroes and Legends Time Machine. Sponsored by Big O Tires, Tempe, Arizona. I'm Mike the Mauler, and my co-host, the GOAT, Adam Gruender. How you doing, Adam?
I'm doing fantastic, Mike. I have to admit, so we finally got over here to the Bluth Brothers' house. We're going to talk about reliable diesel and some of their off-road experiences with Legends and Heroes Time Machine. It's an honor and privilege to be here with them. We're going to get into the off-road, but I want to first start out with where we left off with Chris Hagsett at the World Jet Ski Finals.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go. You were there. Tony Corey's spaghetti party. You talked to some of the Hall of Famers. You're 4-time Hall of Famer. Get into that.
You know what? It was just so fun to get there and see all the faces I used to race against. And it was nice to get a hug from them and a shake. And they actually commented on the show. They said, hey, you know what? Keep up the work hard. I think you and Adam got a really good thing going on. And, keep up with the legends and heroes. And also seeing prospects for the future, other opportunities for us to be other events, because we're really excited. We don't even know what we opened up in this can of worms, but we're going to be traveling. We're going to be busier than we thought we were after we retired, right? We're going to be busy.
Well, we really want everybody to like this. If you like it, go on our Legends and Heroes Time Machine page, like and share it. Get us up to as many friends as you can get us on there. Anybody that knows that wants our services will come right to you. And we want this to grow. Me and Mike are investing the time.
Well, it comes down to every racer has his own story.
Yes, that's what's
it has his own adventure.
Yes.
And so we're trying to bring that out. Like you had your adventures, my adventures. Well, it's not just me and you, it's everybody else, all the racers in the world. Doesn't matter, boats, trucks, cars, jet skiing, whatever it is.
I mean, this is a very special event. We are with these guys tonight. Yeah. You can see the vehicles behind us. There's 2 very well-known machines back there. One's diesel. One is a semi-rental truck, but can run in the same class with a Chevy and 4-cylinder engine that works really well. It's good for pre-running. It's very reliable.
That's the key, reliable.
So we'll get into that shortly. But to finish up with Chris Haggist with the 350 horsepower carbon fiber hull. The complete hull weighs no more than 75 pounds. We just want to thank Chris for taking us out, letting Steve, our producer, ride it. We got him on that. He put it around pretty good. And just the dynamics of what that machine, from back when you and I raced on the JS hulls back in the day.
Well, we never dreamed that there would be something like this. So
yes,
we just thought, 550, then the Superjet came, and then the 800 came, and then the bullet hull came, and then the 1100s came, and then all of a sudden 300 horsepower. So
I held him for a whole shot.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
And, it was people like horsepower on live coverage. 20,000 people liked it in 2 days?
Oh yeah, it was.
And he almost had it sold for $60,000.
Yeah, big hit. It was a big hit.
The carbon fiber hull, it weighs 75 pounds. The ski goes 85 plus. We don't know. He didn't radar it.
So what did you learn?
I jumped on it, and I was, like you always taught me, be Mr. Smith and go out, and I was checking it out. What I did notice right away is the thing, if I did want to jab it and go fast, it went through the water like a skater.
Yeah.
You could control it. It was predictable. I'd like to own one. You have something that much power on a watercraft, and the only way you can ride it is you have to pull the throttle forwards and backwards. If you didn't control that, the linear power of that thing would just take off and rip your spleen out, kind of like an old CR500. I mean, right? So that was pretty crazy. It was a very treat for him to let us ride those expensive machines he builds.
Chris was involved with the Hydrospace. That was like the first.
That was a cool machine.
Yeah, he had to go. He lived
turbocharged, twin-cylinder, double overhead cam, 4-cylinder in a jet ski. Yeah, and it sounded just.
It was awesome.
I don't know where it went, but it sounded amazing.
A lot of work though. It needed, should have came with the mechanic.
I don't know how the Australian company, whoever it was, went out of business. I know the full details.
Yeah.
Chris kind of elaborated a little bit on it, or it got blocked from the IGSBA, or that was amazing. I used to talk to you about that. I used to go, Mike, what is that thing?
It's funny because when people see a jet ski, oh, you must know that guy. No, I don't know that guy. Just because I ride a jet ski doesn't mean I know everybody that rides a jet ski.
But it was your life. It was your passion.
For a long time.
Hopefully we get into this with the Bluth brothers in the off-road. And I've been around these guys for many years now. And he's seen me race. I've seen him race. I've seen him participate and be a treasure to other Hall of Fame people. And everybody that's around him likes to see him around, and he contributes to every program he's been around. He can drive at night. He can dig the truck out in the silt beds. The guys, he's just amazing. So we're going to get into that shortly with the Bluth brothers in off-road. So why don't you guys don't go away, stick around, and we'll be right back.
Score International Baja 1000, rated E10 for ages 10 and up.
Hey, welcome back to Legends and Heroes Time Machine, guys. We're sponsored by Big O Tires Tempe, Arizona. I want to thank them for sure. Randy, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you.
It's one of my best friends, guys, so this is really a pleasure for us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Henry. I'm so excited to be here with Heroes and Legends. You know, I've seen a few of your podcasts. I think they're great. I love the idea of them, and I'm excited to support you guys and to be a part of it. Thank you for having me here.
So basically you grew up in Mexico. It's the number one sport in Mexico. Who introduced you to the off-road? Or you just liked it because you saw them sometime, or?
You know, when you grow up in Mexico and there's a lot of dirt roads, not a lot of asphalt, not a lot of freeways, driving in the dirt is just the way of life. It's just part of what you do every single day. So when we have the opportunity to build a race truck or something that'll go over some dirt roads and some bumps at faster speeds, then, you know, I'm all into it. But my introduction to off-road racing is a couple of friends in high school. When I was a senior in high school, they invited me to go to the Baja 1000. That was John and Kelly McNeil, the two brothers. Yeah, I know. And we went and supported Perry McNeil, which is their uncle, in San Diego. And I actually got to participate, watch, be part of the pit crew at the Baja 1000 when I was 17 years old. And, you know, once you go to a race and once you see that adrenaline, the performance of those trucks, and that was a long time ago too. That was, you know, in 87, 86.
87, you're 17 years old.
17 years old.
What was Perry racing?
You know, Perry Rose, they had a Class 1 car.
Wow.
V8? And no, that was, it had a Volkswagen motor in it, but that was the Class 1 at the time. Wow. Yeah, I remember he had a 5-speed manual transmission in it, and we put the motor and put the headers in it. And I remember he had an oil pump problem. I think the oil pump shaft broke on it, and so we didn't finish the race, but it was... You know, I got some awesome pictures of race cars. The big truck then was a Class 8, not trophy trucks. They only had Class 8s, and that was the V8 Rumble that you watched go by. And that was a lot of, you know, just exciting to watch. Heavy iron. You know, they had to have the frame. It was still, you know, Ford or Chevy or whoever sponsored, you know, Dodge sponsors. Those are the legends back in those days. That awesome. And Perry McNeil was right in there with them.
And I think in that Class 1 back then, I think they were 911 motors.
You know, Adam, you might be right. I think the Porsche motors, they had that big fan on the back with the big bubble on the top. And I remember putting those headers inside. We were putting the headers on before the race and put out. But I think Perry in that race, unfortunately, I think he had an oil pump problem and the shaft stripped on it. And they were trying to make it work out on the field, but they didn't finish that race. But I remember taking pictures, you know, with those old little... 110 cameras. I don't know if you remember, and I developed them. Yeah. And man, that was my pride and joy watching those old videos of old race cars going by, and you know, not even close zoom. And man, I love that off road. That was a great experience, you know, to go do that. And then later, about 3 or 4 years later, Perry actually invited me to go to a Plaster City race. And I got to ride in the race car. That was the first time I ever got in a race car.
Plaster City.
Where
everybody tests the shocks now.
That's right. Yeah. And I got to ride in that third seat. You remember how we had those 3 seats, a 2 front seat at the front? And I climbed in that. I'm a big guy. Yeah. And I climbed in that little seat in the back. My knees are up on my hip. In fact, I remember we were starting and Perry looks at me. He's like, dude, how do you fit back there? I'm like, dude, I'm racing. I don't care where I'm at. I'll climb in no matter what.
That's right.
That's
and
cool.
sitting at that starting line and that adrenaline, butterflies, even though I'm not driving, that was my first experience in that racetrack. And Plaster City was a rough race.
Yeah.
I remember hitting those whoops in that little Ford Ranger thinking, there's no way this truck's going to survive this. Just no way. The front end's just going to rip off the front of it.
Just before I ask you your next question, I had a customer that would come in my Scottsdale store, and he used to race against Perry, and the way he had a ponytail, and he raced for the big milk family here in town, the Banning family, I think.
Oh, Banning.
And he said, I don't know what it was, but he said he hit me so hard, he knocked me out, unconscious in the car. He had to pull over, regain his shit, and then take off.
Well, they were famous for that back in the day of
Perry?
just hitting people and
anybody.
making them move over. In fact, Perry said if they're in my class, they're free game, hit them as hard as you can.
So did they have a siren or no?
I don't think they had sirens then. I probably just had little horns.
Well,
it wouldn't work too good. So you just had to give them a little nudge to let them know you were there behind you.
You're awake, aren't you?
Yeah. Perry was pretty famous for that.
Nice. That's
so Perry McNeil is actually one of the guys that introduced me to the off-road racing. I got to, get in the seat, being part of it.
True legend.
True legend, awesome guy.
He won like 13 Baja 1000s.
I don't know if there's anybody that's done more than him. I don't know that for sure, but
I'd like to know what year he was. So then you got in 92, 93, you got married, right?
Obviously didn't get to off-road race. You got married, you're the wife and family, and I've always loved off-road racing.
You got to survive, got to make a living.
But instead of going off-road racing, we went to the sand dunes, so we started racing quads and dirt bikes, going to the sand rail, building sand rails. And the off-road always intrigued me, but it was hard to do that when you have young kids,
but the
growing up.
Sand dunes are still off-roading. You're making a living for the family. You're still going fast and enjoying yourself. That's how we stick together as a family, always doing things together.
I think you learn how to drive out in the sand and go over the hills and picking a line and doing that kind of thing.
I think that's where you got your built-in GPS.
Maybe you can get.
He has a photographic memory. He's built-in GPS. I joke about it, but in the dunes, you kind of go out. You got to know where you're at. You got to come back. I get it. Oh yeah. And you do it in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of IFR? You know what IFR stands for? In the airplane industry, it's instrument rating flight, right? So you're flying with your instrument ratings, and it's when it's cloudy and you can't see anything. You fly with instruments. The joke is. They would say, "Hey, how do you get lost in the dunes? How do you know where to go?" They say IFR. It's like, what, you flying airplanes? You can do instrument rating out in the airplanes. They said, "No, I follow Randy."
Me too. Me too.
That was
IFR.
So yeah, they would make the IFR. They make me fly IFR. Follow Randy. I follow Randy. So that was
unique,
one of the
unique in that aspect of going camping, enjoying the family, the kids growing up, have more kids. Explain to us about your little mini sand rails. I heard a little bit of it last night. It was pretty cool. Talk about that.
So Mike, we would make these little mini sand rails. We called them mini sand rails, but what I wanted to do is get my kids off of quads and dirt bikes. I was afraid they'd get hurt when they were little, so we wanted to build a roll cage around them. The first one I did was a little 200 SX motor, had electric start, automatic, didn't have a clutch. It was kind of a fun little motor. My oldest son, Wayne, when he was like 5 or 6 years old, he'd get in that thing, and we had a lot of fun with that. I also had a Volkswagen sand rail, and then we built a really nice V8 sand rail that was pretty hot performer.
But he built this little one. It was a 3-cylinder, and it beat a Banshee up the hill.
Yeah, that little car was lightweight. It was way underbuilt, but it had an Interceptor 1000 motor, and that V4 that put out about 120 horsepower. I don't remember.
That's enough.
That thing was so much fun. It had 15 inches of travel. It would beat Banshees up the hill. It was so fun. We had cutting.
Beat a Banshee?
It would beat Banshees up the hill. That thing was so fast.
Banshees are fast.
Well, that motor, would turn, 10,000 RPM. And the sprocket gear that we had to put on the back, it was like this big, to gear it down because it was so high geared.
Yeah.
But you'd just shift that thing just just as fast as you could shift it and hold the gas down, and that thing would rip up the hills.
Is it the one sitting over at the barn house that I look at every time I go in?
I think I still have it over there, yes.
Real tiny little chassis tube. He built it. It was light.
It was light. It was fast. It was a lot of fun.
The motor was the heaviest thing on it.
But it would take the whoops, through the sand dunes. And that's off-roading right there, just loving that sand dune stuff. And that just, as you're understanding how the suspension works, when you start going into the desert, it was really key to building those little mini sand rails, and had a lot of fun time out there. But taking the kids out there, that was the idea, is to get them introduced into.
Well, they were safe.
To safe and driving well. It was before the Razors and before the side-by-sides were really popular.
Well, that part of it, like you're talking about, I know what it's like because I have some quads and kids. What scared me the most going to the desert when I see some flag that's flying and my kid's going that way and it's not my kid. I'm like, oh my God, you know. So I know exactly, you know, you think. But we're going to move on now. We did that question. When did you start Reliable Diesel and Auto? That's what I want to know. I mean, how long you been doing this?
Well, that's a good question. I actually, my love was not automotive repair. You know, my love was airplanes, and I'm actually a certified aircraft mechanic. I went to school for aircraft mechanic.
That's what Adam told me.
Yeah. And so I did work on airplanes. I like airplanes. That was part of it. But, you know, when we started, when you have a family and trying to make some money and, you know, I was going to have to move all over the United States, I decided to settle down and I actually worked for a diesel shop. You know, learned how to work on diesels, managed the place, and then decided to open up my own shop and opened up Reliable Diesel. We did that in 1998 was the year and then we incorporated in 1999. So we've been there for quite a while.
Yeah, almost 25 years. Well, actually,
yeah,
25 years. You
yes.
celebrated this year. Awesome,
yes, thank you.
Congratulations.
So, and Reliable Diesel is going strong. You know, we have a good following. We have some awesome employees that have been with us a long time. And so we like working on diesels. We specialize in Fords and Chevy diesel pickup trucks more than the big semis. Even though we've done big semis, school buses, motorhomes, we kind of specialize in pickup trucks. And then we ventured out into a couple of other little things where we would get creative and we'd put a Cummins motor in a Ford or Chevy truck, you know, and we call them repowers. And we just love the Cummins motor, and we know how well built it is and how strong they are. And so we've done a lot of conversions with those. We built some really hot, awesome Dodge Power Wagons with Jim Trina and Desert Power Wagons. Yeah. Some beautiful trucks that sold at Barrett Jackson for tons of money, more money than I could ever afford one, but they were awesome trucks.
Well, one thing, you took it on a ride last night, a test ride, right? And what I noticed, we're driving on the freeway. His brother's pulling the rig, right? And I'm in the front. And all I notice is that people are giving you the thumbs up, the okay. You know, I'm from California. People don't do that. They flip you off. They give you the bird, all right? So I was like, did that guy just flip it off? Or, that guy gave it the thumbs up. And then all of a sudden, another truck does the same thing. I think I saw about at least our drive there, half an hour maybe? At least 5 guys, 5 trucks pull up to you and go give you a thumbs up. And your brother's all like, you know, I'm all like, dude, really?
They'll actually slow down. They speed up next to you, then they slow down next to you, then give you a thumbs up.
It was also, they like I said, you have a big presence here in Phoenix. You really do this whole area. If somebody can do that for you, that means something. It really does. Like I said, where I live, if somebody raises their hand, they're doing it for another reason.
Yeah, well, when you have pulling a truck like the one behind us, you know, on a trailer, it's a showpiece. Everybody loves it. It's not something you see every single day. A fancy car is always nice to see out there, but when you see an off-road truck with 40-inch tires on the back of it, you know,
I was impressed.
You get a lot of thumbs up. Everybody loves it.
These guys have a great presence, so I was really impressed about that.
Good.
You know, it made me feel good. I'm like, man, these guys are doing something good for the community. You know, they're seeing somebody else have fun, and that's what this show's all about too. The people that live for fun, makes them smile.
Well, they also appreciate they have a basic understanding of this heavy iron right here and the cost factor that goes into something like that. That's an amazing machine. These things go through the desert and just eat everything. And it's like an airplane. They ride so good. It's like an airplane on the ground hitting these rollers, and they just go right through it. So I think the people that do appreciate it, honk, they know what that is.
Yeah. So did you have fun out there last night running that truck?
You know what?
Watching that truck run?
I think my director had more fun than anybody.
Absolutely.
Because I had fun because I got to be around motors. I love motors. I love that. I didn't know what to expect. I really did. You know, you're all, you have to come around with me. Don't take your car. I'm like, okay, and because we had all the gear in the car, he seemed like, well, let's go with him. We'll make friends with him. And then we had dinner with you. You guys bought us dinner. So you made us feel comfortable.
Good. Thank you. I'm glad you did. I'm glad you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. We all want to share the whole responsibility. We want to be with good people. Yeah. And it's fun when they're respectful and, they just have a good conversation. And especially when you have that like interests, right? When you have the same interests, it's always fun.
Your first race as a driver, you were on the Parker 400, but wasn't Adam with you too?
You know what? That was a fun race. And that was one of my first races driving, actually. With John and Kelly, I would help John and Kelly and McNeil race their little Class 7. And they allowed me to drive one of the laps in the Parker 400. That was little Ford Ranger, was a little underpowered, but it had a good suspension and we had a good time racing that. I think, I can't remember if John or Kelly started the race. And then I got to do either the second or third lap. But I actually put my brother James in the right seat, and Adam was actually got in the little back seat, that little seat that you would sit in the very back. Yeah. He climbed in that little back seat, and we took off and did a lap at the Parker 425, which is actually a pretty rough race back in there.
Totally remember it. He jumps in the McNeil's Ranger, drive it like he stole it. We're coming through the road sections, loose gravel, going 80 plus miles an hour. Then he dips down into the power line road. There's power lines on both sides. I was crapping my pants.
Literally, you're weaving around the power lines, and then there's some double power line poles.
Kind of spooky.
And the road goes right between it. And there's like 6 inches on each side, and you're doing 80, 90 miles an hour through this. Yeah, between the power line poles.
Like, how you doing, Adam? I'm doing okay. And I realized for some reason, one of the helmets I got from McNeil's, somebody threw up in it.
Oh.
You know, as fond memories I had of that race, this is where I realized Randy's MacGyver. Perfect guy to own a truck, fix it himself. We lost all the tranny fluid. And the temperature went through the roof. Randy pulls over. We jump out. We had the fluid, all that stuff. Randy goes, start taking this wire and I'm taking it apart. What a trip. So the section of the tranny pan that was leaking, he pulled those out. I gave him the wire. He starts twinning it up so it took pressure, turned it like a washer for the pan.
Oh, you told me the story.
Slams the bolts back in, fires it up. We got the fluid topped off about right.
It's not leaking.
The bolt's stripped out, so there's no more thread. So how do you add a thread? You put a piece of wire on it.
It stopped
leaking.
In.
I never thought of that.
Okay, then we're hauling butt to the wash section with good rollers. He's all whoa. Woo! And I vividly remember the gravel coming over the dash and hitting James. And I'm in the backseat going, oh, this is kind of fun stuff. And then we're hearing this clank, 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 clank. And then he pulls into Baja Pits. The McNeils must have paid in, or if they didn't pay in. What a fantastic thing. We pull in. Randy goes, hey, can you guys weld up my third member off the rear differential? I hear it clanking. I don't know if you had a backup camera, how you saw that. It's funny. Okay. So they were welding it up.
I asked him, hey, what's making all that noise? They looked underneath it. Oh, you got a thing broken down there. I'm like, can you weld it? Yeah, we can weld it. We didn't even get out of the car.
As they're welding it up, the big Hawaiian or Mexican, whatever they were, those guys in that team, he throws us a chili dog, hot chili dog with cheese. And I'm like, Randy's like, you want one? I go, this is what we're supposed to be doing. Yeah, give me one.
It's like full service, right? Full service. They fix the car and you get food.
Baja buffet.
There you go. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
What a story.
Yeah.
You know, John and Kelly McNeil were great in allowing me to drive their truck and be part of it and support them. You know, I got to race a lot of races with John and Kelly and got to race them. I actually raced quite a bit also with Brandon McNeil and TK McNeil had a little trophy truck. And we got to do a little series with that. We also built a little car for my son and I. It's called a China Light. The class was a fun little class. If the car was built in China, then you could race it in that class. So low budget, didn't cost a lot of money. And my son and I actually did really well. I think we won a championship in Whiplash and had a good
really
time.
how I first met you.
Yeah, I got my son behind the wheel, let him get a little experience behind the wheel. We were racing against rhinos, was in our class. We'd race, and it was a good little competitive class. We had a lot of fun doing that and got some wheel time for sure.
Funny comment on that.
Very good.
I was teamed up with Turbo Diesel Kenny. They were friends. Randy buy a lot of parts from him, turbos, injectors, and things like that.
And you guys built that little car. We had two of those, right?
Kenny,
you had a car, we had a car.
Kenny had his, and Kenny we became friends. And I met you through Jim Patrick at Patrick Motorsports. And so that's how I met you and I became friends with you. But the first race, the Whiplash race up.
That was at Snowflake.
Snowflake up north. Yeah. Kenny had got some rocks in his eyes and we had to pull out and quit. It was a rainy race. And I remember we were cruising along. Kenny comes up on like 6 rhinos in a line, and they're like, we don't know what to do. And we look over, you tapped us, and then you had those bypasses on the rear. You just modified everything just to the hill. It ran great. You passed all of us through a ditch you cleared on the left. I go, Kenny, what is he doing? He's passing all of us. Go get him, buddy. Kenny's like, okay.
Kenny was a little inexperienced at the time. Was like, hey, how do you pass somebody? Do you wait until they move over? And like, no, we pick another line on the outside and pass them all.
Over.
And I just passed them all.
That's how I really actually met.
Yeah, those were fun races. I actually raced. I got to race that China Light buggy. We did a couple of laps in it, and then I got to get in the trophy truck, trophy truck 34 with Brandon McNeil, and then got to race that little race. And I think we got second place or first place. We won first place in that one too, in the trophy truck. Those were fun races back in Whiplash when they were little Arizona local races. They were a lot of fun
up north in the Pines.
It was nice and cool up there.
Not the Pines. It was just in the brush area, the Heber area,
the high desert,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Great. That's so awesome.
That racing experience is how, lead to wanting to hey, well, let's build a truck. Let's do our own thing. Let's have our own truck. And that's what's kind of graduated into building this truck and started to build it. A race truck is not something, especially when you build it yourself and putting it together or custom build it. It's not something you just go do. Yeah. And hey, all right, next week we're going to go race this truck. No, I mean, it's a plan, and it takes years and years to put it together and to make it come to fruition, if you will. But this truck was a lot of fun to build. It's taken a long time, but because I own reliable diesel, we wanted to run a diesel. I just figured, we have a lot of these little motors, and we thought about putting a 6-cylinder in it, the big, 5.9 Cummins in it. We built a couple of little 4-cylinders for some customers that we got like 400 horsepower to the rear wheels. And I thought if I could get 400, that would be great. And we pump out about 400 horsepower, which is limited. Those EcoBoosts that we race against now are putting out 5 or 6. So it's hard for us to keep up with them. But the little 4-cylinder does come along and it does good.
Well, as being a former mechanic and racer, you hear things. And when you turned it up a little bit last night, the motor sounded a lot better. The guy took off. I'm like, what'd they do to it? It doesn't sound the same now.
A diesel and gas are in essential to get power out of them are opposite. A gasoline, you start leaning it out and you start getting power until you blow it up. A diesel, you start adding fuel until you blow it up. Yeah. So last night we just added some fuel to it, and where's the limit? That's the problem. No. Do we just keep adding it until we blow it up? That's the problem. No. Where's that limit? Yeah. But yes, we did add some fuel to it. It does sound a little better. We can actually add a lot of fuel to it, but it wouldn't live. Yeah. Just like leaning out a motor, you can get that power, but there's a happy ratio. It has to be perfect there. So there is some technology in that diesel. This is all mechanical. It's not electronic pump. We still run a little mechanical pump. So there's a lot of adjustments that we have to play with. No computerized. It's all just mechanical. So it's a little harder to tune. You have to be tuning it all the time, but we try to keep that optimal horsepower out of it.
Nice things. I see you coming.
Yes, we do put out a plume of smoke, unfortunately.
Not too much wind, which in desert you always want wind, so it clears it out. You can see the stack a little bit, the black smoke.
To get that turbo to spool, you got to add that fuel, and that will get your black smoke. Usually, once the turbos spool up, the black smoke will go away, and then it becomes more efficient. But, in a race car, you want that performance as fast as you can. So you like that little bit of black smoke to put that performance out.
All I know is it sounded really well. It sounded really healthy. It sounded really strong.
Thanks.
So, quick point to that, and we talk coming back from races all the time with Randy, and I wish we had more power. This and that. He says, Randy, you've finished 6 desert races and score with the same engine.
Exactly.
At the same time, we're seeing the new McNeil race teams there jumping up to spec. I think they went through like 7 LS3s. I go, what do you want, Randy? Do you want to have that kind of budget where you have to spend all that kind of money? So that's pretty cool.
There's not a lot of advantage to the diesel besides I get to run $3 gallon fuel, and we get pretty good fuel mileage considering, the race truck, we can get, 5 or 6 miles to the gallon where the race cars are getting 2 to 3 miles to the gallon.
So really? I didn't know that.
There is some advantage to that. And we'll tell you some stories too, how we can just drive up to a Pemex and put some diesel in the race truck if the pit crew doesn't show up. But the power is not necessarily a big advantage, unfortunately. I wished it was. I was hoping it would be. But that little 4-cylinder, we are squeezing about as power as we can get out of it. And we're somewhat competitive with horsepower, but it's definitely not the big advantage.
Turns it into a momentum car a little bit in the sand washers because it's heavy.
It is heavy.
Everywhere else, if we're on hard pack, it's enjoyable. And the truck Randy's just got it dialed. It floats through there with the shocks are all dialed in great. Wayne from Fox Shocks called it the rolling sofa.
Yeah, he did.
That's what you guys call it.
He co-drive
the fast sofa.
Rob McCachran. He's called it the rolling sofa. It is safe. It's fast. It'll go 110 on the dry lake bed.
Yeah, it'll get up there. It just takes a while to get there for sure.
110 will scare anybody.
Yeah.
Great story. Right now, I got to take us back to a commercial break, pay some bills. But we're going to talk to you about, your transition from the pit crew to racing the Baja 1000. So we'll be right back.
65 miles south of the U.S. border, racers from all around the world gather in Ensenada, Mexico for the granddaddy of all desert races. Millions of dollars, thousands of hours, hundreds of teams, all boils down to a 36-hour test of endurance, equipment, teamwork, skill, and stamina.
Every year we keep saying this is the most difficult Baja 1000, and again, it is true.
This is off-road racing. This is score off-road racing. It's the most mucho macho sport in the world.
Doesn't mean that the fastest guy's going to win, because the guys that take care of their equipment are usually the ones that win.
Welcome to the legendary Baja 1000.
All right, we're going to welcome you back to Legends and Heroes Time Machine. We're here with Randy. Now, Randy, tell us about the Baja 1000. It says, I see a bunch of stuff that you and Pistol Pete won in 2014.
We did. That's an interesting story. In fact, that was kind of my introduction to Pistol Pete. I knew who Pistol Pete was. I'd rubbed shoulders with him a little bit, but he didn't know who I was. It's funny because I was helping a couple of crews race different races. GNR Racing, Ron Whitten, awesome guy, win a couple of races just as their pit crew and helping them do some races. I wasn't involved besides just pit crew, but they canceled and weren't going to do this Baja 1000 one year. And I'm like, man, I want to ride, at least go to the race and be participate and be part of it, right? And so I was walking through the SEMA show, and Pistol Pete was walking up, and I just asked him, I'm like, hey, can I join your crew and be part of your team and just go down to the Baja 1000, be part of it? I just wanted to be part of it. And at first he said, no, he says, we already have a crew. We already have all our people. We really don't need anybody, but I'll take your number just in case somebody drops out. And then I dropped some names. I said, hey, I've been racing with the McNeils, Jason McNeil. I've raced with him. I've raced with, Perry McNeil, John and Kelly, a couple of guys that he knew and that he'd been around. And so sure enough, the next day I get a phone call. Said, hey, Randy, do you want to go? You can pit crew with us. Come to the Baja 1000 with us. And there's an underlying reason.
I mean, were you like excited?
Oh, dude, I'm all excited.
Jump for joy or what?
There's a little underlying reason. I actually had a ride down to the Baja 1000. I was going to stay in Cabo for a few days and go fishing with another buddy of mine, Carl Johnson. And so I wanted to ride down there more than anything else. So when Pistol Pete, I know he made some phone calls, called Jason, hey, who's this Randy Bluth guy? Who is he? What does he do? And then I get a phone call, say, hey, Randy, you want to come with us? Come with us. He says, I understand you race trophy trucks with, a couple of the McNeil boys and raced them. I'm like, I have. And he says, you want to drive a section? And I'm like, yeah, sure, of course.
That's an opportunity.
Yeah. Pete's always question was those, how much money do you have? That was always his question. So Pistol Pete was in the rental business, right? Racing the trophy truck. He rented sections of the Baja 1000 and would let other people drive the trophy truck. And when he found out that I was a pretty good driver, or I had, heard that I could drive, if you will, I actually got to drive. Pete started the race. Jason McNeil did the second section. I knew Jason. I've raced with Jason before. I actually talked Jason into co-driving for me, giving me some pointers while I got to drive, and I drove my section. And then Eric Falar, which is the Motive Gear rep, drove. We had a great team. We ended up winning the Baja 1000 that year in Class 7.
That's a great story, though. You made your own opportunity.
That is correct. You have to be at the right place at the right time. But I'll tell you, that
if you don't ask, what will you get?
Yeah, that is correct. Exactly. You don't get anything.
Timing.
It does help when you own a race truck. Then people are a little more lenient to let you drive their race truck.
Yeah.
And they know that you've been behind the wheel, you can control it, then they allow you to drive the truck. So Pistol Pete was an awesome guy. In fact, they're going to put him in the Hall of Fame in a couple of weeks right here in Las Vegas, the Off-Road Hall of Fame. They're going to inaugurate it.
Really?
Yes.
He deserves it. He did. I mean, I only heard of him because he was a big favorite in San Diego. He really was. People love that guy. But they
Felipe, they love.
But they love to hate him too, though.
It is a love-hate relationship, you know. And I had that feeling too. It's like sometimes I'm like, well, I love Pete. I love hanging out with him. I love talking to him. And then there's times like, oh, please, really, Pete? You know, we have to go down that road or do this. The thing I loved about him, which is kind of annoying, it can be annoying, is very honest with you. I always knew where you stood with Pete. He would tell you, hey, if you're ugly, you're ugly. He'd just tell you, you know. And if you got offended, then you didn't like him. But the reality is, you know, he had good intentions. He was just straightforward, honest guy, and you always knew where you were and how you dealt with it. And there's a lot of people that can probably attest to Pete and how they introduced him to the off-road racing and the off-road, you know, and I'm one of those guys, you know, even though I've already had my feet wet and been around off-road, but he definitely launched, you know, my career. Pistol Pete was one of the mentors for me to race my truck. I had it. We went pre-running. We did, you know, testing. We went shock testing with Pete, and he's like, when are you going to race your truck? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm too nervous. It's got to be all right. Everything's got to be perfect. It's hard to, you know, once you own a truck, it's hard to then go do a race. You know, that's a whole nother logistics.
When am I ready?
When are you ready? And Pistol Pete did, you know, push me to go do a Vegas to Reno race. I'm like, I don't have enough tires. I don't have money for tires. And he says, I'll put Maxxis tires on your race truck. And we did. He gave me all the Maxxis tires, put all the tires on this diesel truck.
He saw potential in you.
We finished our first race with the Vegas to Reno. We did break a spindle. We barely made it to the end.
I was there.
But we did cross the finish line.
It was like leaning all cracked.
Oh, we had a front.
Yeah, you said that.
The tire was coming off.
Yeah. Well, Pistol saw the quality in Randy and the professionalism in him. He could drive through the silt beds at night. He could fix anything. I mean,
you know, we were sad to have him when he got in his accident and passed away. And
I heard of a guy that was down there. Sean Soul is on. He likes a Reliable Diesel Facebook page. He says, Adam, I think something happened to Pete. You were at the SEMA show with Jim Torino at the Power Wagons. You did all the repowers on those. And I says, oh, well, let me get a hold of Randy. And then you heard that time is how I released it to you.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was one of the saddest phone calls I've ever had. Very sure. You know, Pistol Pete died in a car accident.
It's a tough phone call. My brother died in a car accident when I was 12. He just came home from the Vietnam War. Died this day after in a car accident.
Wow, he survived the Vietnam War and then died in a car accident, unfortunately.
Yeah. But I look at it like there's an angel on my shoulder, and it's pushed me farther than what I'd be pushed just by myself. Because I said, man, he can't live life anymore, so I'm going to have to live it for him. That's the way I kind of feel, you know. It still has to be hard, of course, but it's like, you know, that has brought me to where I am now. You know, I got girls, you got girls, we got a family, but I still believe that there's some angels in heaven that look over us. When I got hurt real bad, I was actually supposed to die because I had so many injuries. And my wife was sitting there. I saw her sitting there in the chair. She went home that night. And then, craziest thing, I've told this before, my brother showed up, the one that died. And he said, I can't save you anymore. So then that, like, whoa. So I haven't really raced or anything. And I took it seriously. And I said, man, I'm a lucky son of a gun to still be here. Because the richest guy in the world can't buy time.
No.
That's right.
So, like I said, I have an angel on my shoulder somewhere, and I still got some stuff to do, I guess. So, no, I understand, but you're a part of Pistol Pete's life, though. And so I understand that you got to enjoy him personally.
You know, I'll admit that I feel like I'm one of the luckiest guys that got to participate with him, got to race with him, and we had a really bond, a good connection, at least I feel on my side of it.
That's what it's all about.
It was.
You're bonding with guys like me bonding with you right now. That we're telling each other what we're going. That's what the show's all about. Sometimes there's hard times, but we have to overcome and just go, you know what? What would they want us to do? They wouldn't want us to sit there and be crying. They want us to be racing. They're doing something, you know, that we love to do.
We're living life through these great people.
Yeah.
So that's what we're all about.
Yeah.
That's what Legends and Heroes is about.
That's what it is.
We're here and we're experiencing the memories.
Yeah.
That's a big lesson when you want to learn something. Hang out with good people and good smart people, and obviously it'll rub off for sure.
Hey, Randy, Pete and Robbie Gordon, they're legends in the sport. They both did really good things for the sport. Just go and elaborate on that. They would come together when people needed things like that one kid that got injured in the boat crash.
It's funny. Pete and Robbie Gordon had some interesting relationships. Obviously, they had their disputes and their fights. I know one time when they were not getting along really well, we were We were pre-running the Baja 400 actually. And Pistol Pete was in my diesel. He was actually co-driving in my diesel. We were making notes, and I'm like, hey, we'll just put some miles on this new truck, right? It was getting dark. We were coming in just Ojos Negros. In fact,
is that where it was?
Yeah, and we come across this Chevy truck out there pre-running that was broken down. And Pistol Pete was in the right seat, and we pulled up to the truck and, seeing if we can help them. And Robbie Gordon opens the door, climbs out of the truck, and I knew at that time Pistol Pete and Robbie Gordon weren't getting along real well, and had their little spat. So it's funny on the intercom, I told Pistol Pete, I'm like, hey, you be nice. And I told him on the intercom, and he looks at me like a little kid, right? Like, you be nice.
I will.
And he's like, what, you think you have a Robbie Gordon crush or something? That's what he tells me. It's like, you got a man crush on him? And I'm like, you just be nice, all right?
Yeah.
So Robbie's all happy, comes up, he lowers the window net, Pete pulls his helmet off, and I know Robbie's face, he's all happy because somebody's going to help him, and then his face just drops, seeing that it's Pistol Pete. But obviously, it was a great time. We hooked up to Robbie Gordon. He lost his power steering pump, and we hooked a strap to him, pulled him out, got him up to the highway. They had a good conversation in the intercom as we pulled him out at the race course. So
fantastic picture. Steve will go ahead and dub that in this. You guys will be able to see that photo.
Yes, that's one of my claims of fame. My truck hooked up to a tow strap to Robbie Gordon. I'm standing next to Robbie Gordon in front of my truck, his truck, and Pistol Pete took the picture. That's one of my favorite pictures, obviously.
Nice.
That's cool.
One of the fun things that Pistol Pete did was we did some pre-runs, and we sold the pre-run footage, and there was some money. We invited a bunch of people to come and pay to do some pre-runs. Awesome. And all the proceeds went to an orphanage down just south of Ensenada. We got to go down, give the money, meet the kids, and it was a great thing. And a lot of racers put a lot of time and effort into helping down in Mexico and to support those people. It's been great.
Let's go ahead and talk about the rental, and you were involved in helping. You had Tommy Lee and a couple of his band players, the rock and roll guy.
Tommy Lee story, yes. Tommy Lee story. There's a bunch of YouTube videos on that out there.
The cool number 2 truck, 3-seater.
They did get to rent the 3-seater. It was actually had the V8 in it at that time.
Oh, really?
So it was a trophy spec.
LS3.
The LS3 in it. Always, never a dull moment. Very entertaining.
Explain to us the catheter thing that's on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Tommy Lee, Michael, and Dion were sitting there, and Pistol Pete told Tommy Lee, says, hey, if Michael gets out to pee, you guys just leave him. Leave him out there in the desert. If he has to get out to pee, just leave him out there in the desert. That was part of the deal. But anyway, so I guess Michael...
pull over to pee.
Yeah.
Michael did end up racing the truck without a man hose. The other two did put a man hose on. They ended up blowing the transmission. We ended up pulling him out of the desert, so they lasted it. But, Dion and Louie bought one of Pistol Pete's truck later on.
Yeah, bought a really brand new...
the XR.
Baja
the
XR. So it's 1,000 pounds lighter than a spec truck. It's a little narrower.
Really?
They do rip.
It's got a V8. It's got the LS3 in it.
Yeah. And then Dion, it was a sexy black F1 truck. It had the GPS, had all the great stuff. Dion, he stepped up, and Pete had that Dave, the fantastic welder from Australia.
Yeah, that's right.
That thing was beautiful. I would love to have that. And then Dion raced it. First few miles in, they went off the ditch.
Yep, flipped the truck out of the.
How did you explain the? I was cracking up, and then we went. There was a farmer, and we went down and got him, and he came back up with a backhoe.
Yeah, he had a tractor with like a backhoe tractor.
He got it out, and I remember we got it over an area where it wasn't on the racetrack, out of the ditch. For some reason, he blew one of the front tires, and the thing started coming after us. It
was really steep. The hill was really steep.
And I'm like, get out of the way, Randy, move. And this thing was like coming after us. I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And so, I forget exactly. We towed it out there with the big red.
Now, they did get it. That tractor actually, I think the tractor did pull it out, got it up onto its wheels because it was upside down in this ditch.
Glass all over.
Yeah.
That sounds like a Ben James episode.
But that was a fun race. I was supposed to, Eric Flair was supposed to drive a section. I was going to drive a section, and then Dion and Louie were supposed to get back in the race truck. But when they flipped it upside down and it slid down the hill, the gas cap came off, and it filled the gas tank up with dirt.
Sand.
Yeah.
And sand. And so we put it all together. We got the truck running. They jumped in it. They did about another 150 miles. Louie and Dion got out of the truck. I got to get back into the truck.
I got in with you. We got in and we're cruising, and we came up, we're on a road like how I got in the first truck with you and Parker. It was a war road and you're flying through the corners. I started to get a little dizzy and sick. I never looked down. I never went that fast. It was a real switchback road, like really sharp turns. And I remember, and you're like, are you sick? You throw up in your jacket, throw up a burp like this.
I learned that from Marshall McNeil.
You guys said relax.
If you're going to throw up in a truck, you don't throw up in the helmet and throw up everything. It's going to happen. Yeah. You pull your shirt out and you throw up in your shirt and you keep it contained. That was a fun race. We didn't finish that race, unfortunately. Louie got back into it.
We chased that thing. We kept pulling injectors, keep cleaning the injectors.
What happened was the injectors would plug up, and we would took the injectors out, clean them, put them back in, and it would run pretty good, but we were getting terrible fuel mileage. And we ran out of fuel, and we were cranking the starter and burnt the starter up trying to, get the fuel to prime it. Anyway, that's Baja. Baja wins sometimes. Louie Gilbert was in the right seat. It was his truck, with his and Dion's truck, and he was in the right seat. And that was one of the frustrating pieces. We did not get to finish the Baja 1000. When I got my diesel truck going and we were going to race the first Baja 1000, I called him up and said, hey, let's go finish a Baja 1000. Let's get the award, the finishing award. And we did. We actually rode the diesel and we got to finish the Baja 1000.
On the diesel?
Got second place in the first time we raced the diesel Baja 1000.
Was I at that race?
I think you were.
Yeah. I've been through all your history of it. I can't believe it. That's fantastic. Let's go ahead and talk about the Vegas to Reno. Your first race in the United States in that truck.
That was a crazy race.
I was there.
Pistol Pete actually gave me the Maxxis tires, like we mentioned earlier, for that race.
Okay.
There were so many pileups and so many crashes, and there was a wash and a couple of cars that were turned over inside the wash. So there's 4 or 5 cars in front of me that are in my class that I'm racing against, right? So they leave the line, and at race mile, I think it was 50 or 60. It was just right at there was silt beds, there was a mess, and there was a pileup of cars. And I show up, and there's a whole bunch of cars waiting to go through this little wash section. So I veer off to the right, and there was another trophy spec truck that goes into and drops into the wash and gets stuck. And then I go about another 100 yards over. So I'm way off the race course, and I find a little, like a 4-foot drop off. And then at the other side, there's a little ramp. And I line up, I back it up, and I jump. And I jump over the wash and get through it. And I'm ahead of about 20 cars. I'm in first place. I'm stoked. And I'm going through, and the silt is just, you can't see anything.
I hate silt.
The dust's everywhere. And I'm out of the ruts, and I'm slowing down to get to the ruts, getting in the ruts. And there's a trophy spec truck stuck inside the ruts. And I plow into the back of this truck. I back up.
Scary.
They climb out of the truck. They're okay. All the lights were gone. Everything was mangled. Pieces were hanging off the front. After I had the accident, I was losing power, and I thought, well, maybe I broke the intercooler or broke something, and that's why I don't have power. And it was misleading for a little bit to realize the air filter's plugged up. That's why you don't have any power. So at the next pit, we pulled the air filter off, changed it out, and then all the power came back, and we ended up finishing the race. But
so your next race after that was the Baja 1000. You got second.
We did. We raced the Baja 1000, got second place. First race in the diesel truck.
Yeah.
To finish a race is winning in Baja. To get on the podium is just incredible. So, to our first Baja 1000, we got on the podium.
Was I there at that?
I think you were.
Really?
I think you were.
Around all this stuff. I can't believe it. And then San Felipe, I got in just before the finish. James.
That's your favorite race of San Felipe.
I love that.
And in
race.
fact, San Felipe is one of the races we do, because you support me and you're like, hey, let's go do San Felipe. Yeah. And so that's why we choose to do
7 8 hours to finish. The 40-hour 1000 stuff, that's rough on the bottom of the chase trucks.
It's a fun race.
Yeah.
But Mike, it's one of the roughest races out there.
Yeah.
300 miles, but of just whoops. You talk about whoops and how deep they are and how rough they are. But you know what? The 720 loves those whoops. That's where it dominates. And so it's one of my favorite races because it's rough, even though
he always
it is
talks
rough.
about it.
Real memorable. After we got through all that, I was excited. We had 70 miles to go, and we were going real fast in that big straight sections, and we were doing really good. And then you were getting all fancy driving the truck, and you were rolling my side of the truck, smacking trees. You broke the glass on the right side. Then a 2-inch stump comes flying in and hits at the center console. And you go, oh, Randy, really? And then we're cruising along, and then you hit a cholla cactus. The cholla's behind my back. You hear, take this rag and get it out. I got it out, and then he keeps doing it. I go, look, Randy, I know what time of year it is, but it's not Christmas. Let's roll your side now. I was pissed.
Well, you never drive on the driver's side. If you can make up a second or two and the tree's in the way, you just cack the tree. You don't worry about it. You just keep going. The frame will survive. The truck will survive. The fiberglass, we don't care. The rear fenders, they're expendable. They just come off.
So I've seen all these races. Funny as it is, that's not crappy glass. That's Perry. That's fab and fiberglass. That glass is like a 1/4-inch thick. That stuff's burly.
For everybody else, it's a souvenir.
Oh, yeah. The locals in Mexico love the souvenirs. Love the souvenir stickers.
That's what I heard. They got fenders hanging on their walls in their house.
They keep it all over the place. One of the famous taco shops in Ensenada has Ron Whitten's hood. Ron Whitten would spend $4,000 or $5,000. I don't know how much he'd spend, but Jerry would do a phenomenal job of painting these flames all over this race truck, and they would paint it every
Jerry
race.
Parkhurst.
Jerry Parker, beautiful painter, beautiful paint job. And then obviously you go out, you cack a tree, and the whole thing comes off. And the locals, well, there's one taped up or stuck up to the ceiling, mounted to the ceiling of one of the taco shops, and that is one of our favorite places to go and look at the hood. When the F1 firearm truck rolled over and Adam rode with me, the hood was broken, and I'm a pretty tall guy, if you haven't noticed. And when you would drive, when you get up to about 100 miles an hour, because the hood was broken, it would come and cover the front of the race truck, and you couldn't see out. But there's like a 1-inch gap. If I got really tall, when I was doing 100 miles an hour, there was like a little 1-inch gap over the top of the broken hood that would come up, and I could see where I was going. So I just going along, and then there would be a turn, and I would slow down, and the hood would go down, and I could see which direction to go, right?
That's good.
And then you turn, and then you go up, and the co-driver's like, how do you see? You driving blind? Because he can't see anything. It's all covered. And there's like a little 1-inch gap, and anyway, he says, hey, there's a road crossing. So I come to a stop. He's like, why are you stopping? And I pull up, and the locals run up to him, and I tell him, hey, quita el cofre, no puedo ver. They rip the hood off the car, and then boom, I take off again. And they love, they have the big old hood, and they souvenirs are awesome. So
you got to find that hood, though.
I'm sure it's in somebody's house, in somebody's garage. You got to
find that. Say, hey, autograph that thing.
Yes.
And I guarantee you, they would let you find that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Then we had the Baja 1000 with Louis. You were stating lost a tire and got second. Let's talk about that.
So James,
next 1000, yeah.
James and I trade off driving the race truck, right?
Exactly.
And we've invited co-drivers to race with us. And Louis Gilbert, which owned one of the F1 firearm trucks, has come, and he's been an awesome support for us. And unfortunately, we're a little older now, and we're getting a little heavier, and so it's a little harder if we get a flat, to climb out of the truck and get it. So sure enough, James and Louis on the highway, 10 miles from the finish line, they get a flat. The first flat of the Baja 1000, they get a flat. And so James and Louis get out. It's kind of on a hill. James gets the tire off, puts it on the race truck, and Louis holding it. And James gets under the truck, jacks it up, and he sees the tire rolling off the cliff, and Louis running after the tire. And Louis went and got the tire, brought it back, put it on the truck, and then we finished the Baja 1000. I think we got second place that race.
You got second. And then we
awesome. Yeah.
Then a year later we come back. The same year we come back to San Felipe, and then I was supposed to get in with you at 170 or something. And these two guys, Louis Gilbert's back in with James, and they're cruising along. And then, as I remember, they lost an oil line on the bottom of a turbo.
Well, no, one of the fuel return lines cracked and broke and sprayed diesel all over the turbo. Oh. And you know what happens? Even though diesel is not as flammable as gasoline, but you spray it on a 1200 degree turbo, it's going to catch on fire. And unfortunately, we had a little fire.
It did.
And James and Louis climbed out of the race truck and put the fire out. I was supposed to get in And James finally got to the radio and Louie, and they called us and like, hey, what's the matter? What's wrong? He's like, the truck caught on fire. First question, you guys okay? Yes, we're okay. We got the fire out. My second question on the radio was like, are the tires still on the car?
All we cared is that they were okay.
Luckily, we're diesel. Diesel doesn't catch on fire, doesn't burn as fast, but it still can burn. And still,
it was pretty gnarly.
But we still had a pretty good fire. Had to put a lot of love back into the truck to get it
Randy
back racing.
Randy did all new wiring. Amazing.
Rewired the whole truck.
Again. I mean, we lost that really fantastic individual, Smitty. He would charge trophy truck teams, $15,000, $25,000 to wire a truck. You knocked it out in like a month.
One of the things we did in this race truck when we rewired it is that we separated the truck in two different systems, wiring, and we did a backup system. So everything has redundancy. Well, the reason was
very smart, though. That's very smart.
And it started there because you do get a loose wire, and if you had both GPSs hooked up to the same wire, and if you're short, you lose both GPSs, and now you're done. Yeah. So now if there's a short or a breaker or something happens, you lose one side, you get the other side.
See what I'm saying about him?
Yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna have to pay some bills, so we're gonna go to a commercial break. But when we get back, Randy's going to talk about the past and the future of the diesel. So don't go away. We're going to be right back.
Elevate your event to new heights with R&R Productions, a proud media partner of the Elite Draft League. From captivating visuals to immersive coverage, we specialize in bringing your moments to life with unparalleled creativity and expertise. Whether it's live streaming, highlight reels, or social media buzz, we've got you covered. So trust R&R Productions to amplify your brand and showcase your talent like never before. Experience the power of Elite Media Partnership with R&R Productions.
Welcome back to Legends and Heroes Time Machine, sponsored by Big O Tires Tempe. When did James join and begin racing with you, Randy?
You need a team to be able to race the races. And so I asked James, hey, you want to come and be a part of it? So he did. In 2018, we decided to go race the Parker race. And we did. We got the truck ready. We prepped it. We got it all. And we did the Parker race. Parker race is an interesting race because it's 420 miles, but it's 3 loops. So it's really hard to divide that race up into two different sections. But we did. I can't remember exactly how the logistics went, but anyway, I did the first start, and then James got in and finished the last part of it. We were lucky enough to get second place in that race.
I love it. And James is kind of a quiet brother, and he gets all giddy. His wife's making posts. My husband's a professional truck race driver. It's so cute. I get floored by that shit. Yeah. And I like when he makes fun of me. I just can dig the whole thing, the brother thing. We'll talk about the 21 Baja 1000 you got upside down. I put the pictures all over the internet. All my friends have seen it. I'm all over there. I posted that. I got a kick out of it.
So, Mike, just to let you in on our little secret, it's as you know, because Adam goes races with me all the time. One of the things that I would brag about, and when you brag about something, it'll always go wrong.
Yes.
But I bragged about I've never been upside down in a car. All this racing.
You shouldn't have said that.
Exactly. All this racing about bragging. I've never been upside down. And I would tell my co-drivers, hey, don't worry about it. I've never been upside down in a car. That was kind of my little spill. Well, that Baja 1000 in 2021, I took off and I was in 5th or 6th off the line. So I'm not the first car off the line, right? So there's 5 or 6 cars in front of me. I'm in 5th place. Now I'm in 4th place. And then now I'm in 3rd place. I got out on the flats and we pre-run the race course and we make notes of where the shortcuts are and the places you can go. I could see dust, and the dust is the 2nd place guy, right? So
you're excited.
And I'm excited. I'm in 3rd. Yeah. Here's the 2nd place guy. So I cut and go on my little shortcut, which is legal. I was within the means of the score.
VCPs.
Hit all the VCPs.
Virtual
and I passed him. So now I'm in 2nd place in the Baja 1000. Started 4th, 5th. And now I'm in 2nd place, and I'm hauling butt, coming out of these little washes. And Todd Tingey's in with me. He was my co-driver. And we were checking gauges. We were checking stuff because, and I get out of the rut just a little bit in one of those washes, probably doing 70, 80 miles an hour in one of those washes. And I got out of the rut. It got sideways. And I'm like, no big deal. I can control this. And it just starts going sideways. And there's a big tree coming up. And I remember specifically looking at the tree thinking, I have a split decision to make. And I know all racers have that second. It's funny how it becomes slow motion, and I can just recall it like it's slow motion. I square up to the tree. Do I hit the tree right in the front, or do I try to continue and miss the tree? And the funny part was, about a week before, I had a dream that I hit a tree straight on, and it didn't stop, right? And it's funny how I recalled that, and I'm like, okay, then I'm going to try to kick it sideways, right? Yeah. And they just cacked the back of the tree. Well, the tree caught the side of the truck, and I just uprooted the tree and put the truck completely upside down on its lid. Okay. Perfectly upside down on its lid. I climb out of the truck. I go over. Todd Tingy's in the truck. I help him get out, my co-driver. We get out, and we're sitting there looking at the truck perfectly upside down in the middle of the wash. And we're in second place. And Todd's like, well, what do we do now? Well, we got the floor jack, got underneath the roof, pushed the truck up onto the side, and then a truck that had been broken down was way behind, came by, and I had a strap all hooked up, and they pulled it back on its wheels. Then we checked all the oil. The oil ran out of the motor. The oil ran out of the transmission. So we're adding oil to the motor, adding oil to the transmission, checking all the coolant, started up, it runs, we get back in the truck, and we take off again. James was going to drive the second half of that Baja 1000. And so we got to, I think it was via the Trinidad, and I jump out, James gets in with Louis Gilbert, who owns Pro Texas Systems. He's our engineer, guru, programmer, IT guy, the smart one of our group, if you will. Yeah. You know, jumps in the truck with James, and they go over the top of the mountain, Mike Sky Ranch, over the summit onto the other side, and the transmission goes out. And we've never had a transmission go out on this race truck. You know, Fast Motorsports at, Harley just builds a transmission. It's awesome transmissions. But I had to attest it maybe upside down, running out of fluid, you know, adding fluid to it, dirt, whatever. I don't know. We take them a transmission, put a transmission in the thing, get it all settled up. We get it all back together. And that's when Louis has his famous sayings like, if you're broken down long enough in Baja, somebody will bring you a taco. So they're sitting out there broken in the middle of nowhere, and the locals bring them food. I mean, they're way.
They don't want you to get hungry.
Anyway, we show up, change the transmission, jump back in. James is tired. They got stuck. I jump back in the driver's seat. Louis stayed in the right seat. He's a trooper. Did that whole section, replaces the transmission, gets back into the race truck, and we take off, and we get up to Ojos Negros. The transmission had so much debris and dirt from the old transmission that we didn't, out there in the desert, you can't flush out the coolers and clean the coolers out. And sure enough, the transmission starts going into neutral again. And I'm like, man, the second training's bad? Probably. And we get up on top of the summit. We're about 100 miles to the finish line. And we pull over, and it's like 2:00 in the morning. A motorcycle comes by and says, you guys okay? Yeah, we're okay. I sat there for about 10 minutes, started the truck, and then it went into gear. And I'm like, oh, I bet you the filter's plugged up. So I climb underneath. We don't have enough fluid in the truck to fill up the transmission. So we're saving all the fluid we're taking out of the transmission. Oh, no. We're filling up all the water bottles that we had left over. We're filling up Ziploc bags that we have our rags in with transmission fluid. This is 2:00 in the morning, up on the middle of nowhere on the desert. We have all the transmission fluid lined out because we're not going to have enough. And sure enough, I pull the pan off, the filter's plugged up, okay? And at this point, I'm thinking, the transmission's already burnt. So I pull the filter, throw it away, put it all back in, put all the fluid back in, with money. Transmission's working. And we take off. And we go over the top of the summit, we're coming down, we can see the lights of Ojos Negros. And Ojos Negros is only about 30 miles from the finish line. So you imagine driving 800 miles, all this chaos, and we see the Ojos Negros lights. And the motor starts knocking.
You're upside down.
And it starts, and I'm like, I put it in first, and we're babying it, and we're going about 10 miles an hour. Please, we're going to finish this race, 30 more miles. And the motor just gives out right there. And I can see the lights, Ojos Negros. I call on the radio. And if you get response on the radios only go about 10 or 20 miles in straight line. So if it's around a mountain, then it's even closer than that. I get on the radio. Sure enough, my whole crew is in Ojos Negros. They have, and I'm like, hey, the motor's blown. Hey, we're done. and they came in and got us.
We came in and got you.
The ironic part and the frustrating part is deja vu, when Louie and I were in his F1 fire truck and the starter went out 30 miles to the finish line. We were the same distance, and here I am in the Baja 1000 with Louie in the race truck with me, and we didn't make it to the finish line. I can't tell you how frustrating that is to go that much effort, that long, and to break just before the finish line.
2023, I was with you.
This is the last Baja 1000, yes.
I was excited to go. It was a peninsula run. We pre-ran down to La Paz, and then we raced from La Paz to Ensenada.
Yes. So Mike,
that's a 1,300-mile race.
Adam with Big O Tires, he went with us, and the logistics were hard on that one because we had to. You can't drive down to La Paz, that peninsula all the way down to the bottom, pre-run all the way back up to the race, and then drive all the way back to start the race.
Rough road, sharp edges, blows trailer tires right out, fries hubs, bearings.
The roads aren't wide enough, and semis are driving. Yes, exactly. Dangerous. In fact, that's probably the most dangerous part about Baja is driving on the highway roads.
That section.
So anyway, we pre-ran. We got a hotel and then pre-ran a section, and then got another hotel or Airbnb, rented a house in the section, and we had a wonderful crew down there helping us. Scott Bernat came down with his pre-runner truck and pre-ran with us.
This race is unique. I didn't mean to interrupt. I got a really good photo. I came up on him. He was 600th mile kind of waiting for fuel. Is that when I met you at the gas station and you were, I came up on Randy. We'll put that photo in there. And he filled the truck up. He pulled over to the side, but a very active gas station. And he been driving for 12 plus hours. And you dug a little hole in the sand on the side of the little parking lot right there. And you were sleeping when we came up on you.
Oh, is that the picture? That's the picture.
We're talking. I posted that on the internet. My buddy Jim over at Patrick Motorsports build Porsches. He goes, "Wow, that guy's a goat."
The reason I fell asleep, and the reason I was on the side of the road,
sleeping, and we were coming to get you. We're switching out drivers.
Yes, but why were you so far behind? Why weren't you there with my pit crew ready for fuel when I got there? You remember that?
Refresh my memory, would you?
The two semis crashed on the highway, and you couldn't get off the road.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
We almost fell asleep. We were trying to. Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
At the big hill section.
Yeah.
We're going out to La Paz. We blew a couple couplers on the 6.0.
So pit number 1, we did a driver change and fueled. Yep. Pit number 2, we did a driver change and fueled. Pit number 3 was supposed to be at San Ignacio, but I show up to San Ignacio and there's no fuel, no pit crew, no co-driver change, nobody. Because it's a diesel, what do? I pull into the Pemex, give my credit card, I fill up with diesel.
Not race gas.
It's not race gas. I don't need race gas.
$13 a gallon race
gas. So I fill up at the Pemex, and we get back in the truck, and we take off when we start racing again. I get to the next Pemex in Vizcaíno, and at the road crossing, waiting for them, and they're not there yet either because of the. So I pull into the Pemex. I go to fill up again. They're out of diesel. And that's what happens in Baja because there's so many trucks driving down there with the chase crew and they're buying so much diesel that the gas stations run out of diesel. So Baja, you have to be prepared for almost everything. Well, the guys told me, so they had 30 miles up, there's diesel, you can go fill up the truck. And then I looked on the Garmin, as a text, and I could see all my crew where they were, and they were like 20 minutes out or 20 miles out. So I figured they're 20 minutes out. I'm just going to lay down and go to sleep and wait for them. So I did. I laid down, went to sleep, but these guys showed up. Well, I was so far out. I couldn't believe I was so tired. That was at mile 600. Yeah. So we were already at mile 600. So I laid down, and it's funny. I wished I could sleep that deep as I was so tired and so sleepy. But they woke me up. The funniest feeling is like, I didn't know where I was at. I didn't know what was going on.
You were a little delirious.
I was so out. I'm like, wait, where am I? And it probably took 2 seconds to figure it out. But I remember thinking, oh, I'm racing. I'm in the middle of the race. What am I doing to sleep? Let's go. So sure enough, we get up, get the truck, fill up the fuel, and James gets in the truck and takes off.
How many hours were you behind the wheel?
I think that was about 12. No, well, we took off. We took off about 10 o'clock in the morning. We were about 600 miles. I don't remember. I think it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
At least.
Yes.
At least.
It's a funny story.
Yeah.
By the way, we finished that Baja 1000, 1,300 miles. We did finish that way. It rained on us.
Serious
I
mud.
can't tell you how muddy
Yeah.
the trucks were when we got done. Epic race, epic 1,300 miles backwards from La Paz all the way to Ensenada. I'm very fortunate to be able to be part of that race and to have the crew and the sponsors and the support that we have to do that race.
All right, Randy, we're coming into the race, anticipated race coming up, Baja 1000 2024. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, that Baja 1000's here, the November 15th and 16th coming up is really quick. The truck is ready to go. We've done a lot of testing. We went testing last night. Everything went pretty good. We have a few little flaws that we have to fix. Just some coolant lines. We're making sure the cooling system's good. Make sure there's no oil leaks and a few little details like that. But one of the things we have to really prep for the race, this race will be a night race. And we have to go all night long. And so one of the things we're going to do is lights. And Rigid Lights has really stepped up to the plate this time for the Baja 1000. They're going to dress out the truck, and we're going to put some really good lights. They have some lights we're going to test for them. The second thing we really have to do is wheels and tires. Raceline wheels, the bead locks are so important. We've had very, very good luck with the BFG tires and the Big O tires, putting them together and not having issues with tires. The abuse that we put into those at the Baja 1000 is incredible, and how they support is awesome. So that's a big issue that we've had to deal with. So another thing that we did for this Baja, particularly Baja 1000, is that we built a new motor. The motor's freshened up, has new pistons, new rings, new rod bearings.
That's got to make you feel good.
It does. Makes us a little confident. A couple of years ago, losing the motor, probably from being upside down, losing the oil in it, probably caused that problem. But we have a fresh motor ready to go. We also have a fresh transmission. One of the things that Fast Motorsports did is for this transmission is we changed the valve body. Before we had just a regular 47 RH valve body, which is first, second, third, and then we had a switch for overdrive. And now there's no neutral. It goes from reverse or park, reverse. Then where neutral would be is actually first gear, and then we have second, third, and we have fourth gear now. One of the things that we want to do in the future is we did acquire one of Pistol Pete's old cars, and we had an idea to race it this Baja 1000 and to race both trucks. But the logistics were just too hard to put that truck together for this race. But in the future, we plan on racing both trucks. And hopefully my brother James, instead of splitting up the races, splitting up the driving responsibilities and doing both, we'll have two trucks and we'll go do some races with both races.
Run the whole race.
We'll actually be in the same class together and racing against each other. So that'll be a lot of fun in the future.
Oh, yeah.
So
Perfect.
the two pro brothers with two trucks racing against each other. There'll be a lot of competition there. So.
Fun.
That's a great history being made.
Although I think James always says, hey, Randy, you're a good driver. I probably do have a little more experience than he does. But I think he can keep up with me, if not even put some.
Okay.
There's some competition there coming up.
Okay, hold on. Bros. Who's in what truck?
You know what? It depends.
Put me in that turbo. It weighs what?
Yeah, it's supposed to be under 4,000 pounds. Yes.
That's going to win.
That's going to win, even though it's a little four-cylinder. We'll have to see.
Little.
When we talked about
Spank.
Racing both trucks, I told James, I was like, you can choose which truck. You can choose whichever truck. Maybe we'll flip a coin. I don't know. Maybe we'll trade off. You'll race this truck, and then we'll race that truck and see who's faster and which truck's actually really faster, or if it's all driver. That'll be interesting to see, won't it?
Yes.
Right on, Randy. Well, let's go ahead and elaborate on what you need and what kind of support you need to run this program to get through this race.
That's one of the hardest things, obviously, is the support for the Baja 1000, not only financially, but people. It takes a crew and it takes a good support people to race the Baja 1000. And I've been very, very fortunate to have some great people like Adam. One of the things that we do is my co-drivers will come and help me, and I'll trade out a couple of co-drivers. And I have some repeat co-drivers like Todd and Ken that's going to race this race with me. Eric was going to get in the truck in the right seat and support us and has been in a few times. Lane's going to come and be in this time. Rick.
Lane, good luck to him.
Lane's coming. Rick's going to get in with us. Richard.
Rick's a pilot.
Richard,
fantastic
he's
guy
a pilot. Awesome guy to get in.
Pilots are cool.
Yeah. He's a great co-driver.
Yeah, I like him.
Les is going to get in with Louie and do his section with Louie. So we got some great supporters. The other thing is the logistics with hotels and where you're going to pit. We actually have a couple of people coming with us. We have Kevin and then obviously one of my biggest supporters is Scott Bernat with the Pilgrim Fence.
Absolutely.
You know, he's on the side of the truck. He'll bring his pre-run trucks, help us pre-run. He's helped us pre-run the last, I don't know how many races. He's one of my biggest supporters. He's the reason, one of the reasons we go race. Yeah. You know, it takes 4 or 5 key people, and he's one of those. You know, my brother James is one of them. You know, when I'm like, hey, let's go do a race. You know, how do we support it? I need a support crew. You make a couple of phone calls, and you know, Todd or Rick or Adam said, hey, let's go do San Felipe race, and then it's like, okay, let's go do it. It's one of the ultimate experiences that you can challenge. It's one of the ultimate challenges that you can go do is race Baja 1000, and the support team and the camaraderie that you enjoy with one another and the things to share and the stories that you can tell.
Yeah.
You know, and I would have.
That's what we're about. That's what our podcast is about.
That's right.
Living the dreams and in life experiences while we're alive.
It's funny because the races that I went and got first place. I didn't have one hiccup. I didn't have one problem. You don't remember those stories as much as you do. Hey, this broke, that broke. Yeah. We fixed it. We MacGyvered this. You know, we fixed that problem. Took whatever it took to finish that race, and we finished it. Like this last Baja 1000, it was epic. You know, the things that we had to go through, tipping it over, getting it back on the road. You know, running out of fuel. All these stories are just make it a wonderful experience.
What I've learned about is just through your passion of what you're doing in the Baja. It's incredible, though. It really is. I mean, it tells a story of survival. It tells a story of togetherness. You come together.
Cohesiveness.
As humans, our best thing we're strong when we're together. So with a good team, you can pull off a lot of things. So, you know, you're at the same time, you're creating memories for everybody else, too.
And that's part of it, sharing that experience. Yeah. And I think I've been fortunate enough to have a team that has come and are willing to share it. And it really does separate the boys from the men, you know. Yes, it does. You know, and when you go and your true colors come out when you're down in Baja and you're tired and you have to get things done. And I think that's where heroes are made, you know, and that's where legends become legends and heroes become heroes when you support each other and be part of it. So I'm excited for you guys to put on this discussion, this podcast, and to preserve these memories. I think it's incredible. I think more of this should be done with all the racers and the race teams, and not only to preserve that legacy and to preserve those legends and those heroes and to make stories of those, you know, tell those stories that only a few get to experience, and to be able to share that with everybody else I think is incredible. So I appreciate my hands down to you guys for putting on this. I hope we're entertaining enough and hoping that we can experience it enough and that we can look forward enough that more people want to be involved and help you guys and support and like you guys and to, you know.
Well, we're doing it because of you. We thank you for your time and the experiences that you have. I mean, this is going down memory lane for us. This is what me and Mike decided when we were documenting the stuff that we started with. He's on a certain field, I'm on a certain field. Chris is motocross, and then for guys like you that all of a sudden get a whiff of it, we sit down with you, and then now you're really feeling it, and we look forward for your safety and everything and success in what you're doing and enjoying it. When you stop enjoying it, is like you shouldn't be doing it anymore, right?
Yes.
And you get to the point where if you're doing it and you're still liking it, keep doing it. So keep going down memory lane and keep pushing what you like and figure out how to expand your program. I think our stuff will also take you, and people will see you. They'll see the character of you. They'll see the quality of you, and it'll push to the next level. People will be calling you. Just keep doing it while you enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it anymore, maybe don't do it or whatever. You know?
Yeah, that support is great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, one thing I learned with Adam, he's been telling me about you and your brother for like a year. He goes, oh, you got to meet these guys, dude. This guy makes everything. I mean, if it's broken, he'll go make it. He won't go buy it. He'll go make it. So, like, I knew him. And then Adam said, hey, I want to have him on the show. I said, he's a perfect candidate, dude. Let's do it. I didn't even argue with him. Well, I don't argue too often, anyhow, because it's always a good idea. So we appreciate you just sharing your stories with us.
Yeah.
I mean,
without you, we don't have anything.
Yeah.
We could just talk about me and him all. How boring is that?
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. You guys reaching out to people. Everybody has a story, right?
Yes.
Everybody has a story. And so my hat's off to you guys. And, you know.
And not everybody can win.
Right. And sometimes the non-winners are the best stories.
They are. That's why we're trying to do it. Like, I'm trying to tell other people, I go, you know, you guys are only remembering the first place guy, okay? There was probably 39 other guys in that class, or like any kind of racing.
Right.
To fill the line, you have to have the other part. You cannot win or be number one without the rest of the line. So what are you going to do? Hey, I was number one, but there was only one guy in the class. No.
Yeah. Second place, first loser.
That's right.
Well, it turns out sometimes.
You know what I mean?
Turns out sometimes that second place interview, that was the best interview there was. The first guy, he won it easily. That wasn't good. The second guy, he flipped the truck 3 times, ran out of gas, and he still got second.
Yeah.
That's exciting. And then that guy goes, holy cow, I want Legends and Heroes to come talk to me.
One of the classes that race Baja is class 11, and they are the stock Volkswagen Bugs.
Oh, yeah.
And they are the underdogs. Talk about my hats off to those guys with limited suspension, limited tires, limited shocks. They're getting beat up. You know what? My hats off to those guys. I love those guys. They're getting a lot of publicity. They're my heroes. They really are. And for them to go out and race those little Baja Bugs and to be competitive and finish the races and finish the Baja 1000s, my hats off to those. So my hope would be that you guys can get those guys, the underdogs, right? And interview them, talk to them, and show how great heroes they are, and show them you don't think that because they're just the underdogs. Yeah. Hopefully we can get enough likes, enough support with these podcasts that we can do another one of these and bring our crew in here and talk about all the stories we can do. So I'd be excited for that.
Thank you, Randy.
Well, we need everybody to subscribe. JTTV, that's where it's on. Heroes and Legends. Throttle Junkie TV. We call it TJTV, short. But go to that, subscribe. We've had a lot of everything. People are coming on, oh, you need to interview this guy next. I mean, I didn't think that was going to be my problem. There's like 500 guys they need to interview now. So we're really excited about that. We really are. And people keep saying, man, I love what you're doing. You and Adam, just keep going. We're having so much fun with it. We're hearing your stories. And now I even want to go down there and pre-run with you because he was like, you got to go with me. Well, I am now.
Well, San Felipe's coming up. San Felipe's coming up. He's got a car ready to go. Let's come and do it. But I'll tell you what, I like you guys. I want to like you guys. I support you guys. And I hopefully you guys feel the support. And I hope you guys can continue doing this.
Oh, we're just excited that you and your brother have a great relationship. You're sharing your lives with your brother, though. You're doing this. How awesome is that? You and your brother get to do something together. I mean, I wish me and my brother could do something together. But like I said, it's a different story. But, so I think it's pretty awesome. I think what you and your brother have is really special.
Thank you.
It's special.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, Randy, it looks like we've run out of time. It's been a great pleasure here talking with you. And we'll go ahead and thank you for letting us go down memory lane with you. It's been a blast. And hospitality, James's big garage here where all the machines are and the trucks. And it's bucket list stuff. And then, getting in the truck and then seeing your creation and your work of art, that's the best. That's the best. And going fast, because I like to go fast. I'm addicted junkie, Throttle Junkie TV. I'm addicted to speed. I won't get another race car probably, but I still have a 200-mile-an-hour car. So next best thing is to hang out with you and jump in your truck.
That means a lot to me. It really does. And our friendship means a lot to me.
Right on.
And I appreciate you coming down and being part of it.
Not only is it the most unique vehicle in the desert racing series, it's just, he does everything. He makes it.
I know.
He breaks it. Yeah. He fixes it. So he gets an assistance with a tranny assembler. Whoop-de-doo. He puts it back in. He takes it back out. He fabricates it. He catches on fire. He builds 2 harnesses. He has 2 wiring systems. He has 2 It's just, there's nobody like you, bud. And I don't care what you say, who you've hung out with. That is a phenomenal program.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot to me to say that.
Down.
I appreciate that.
I'm really excited for you. So again, you and your brother, man, you guys are, I'm jealous because you get to share your life with your brother. So that's pretty awesome. It doesn't happen too often. So it's happening in motocross right now with the Lawrence brothers.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're sharing it. And his story was he brought his brother. Now his brother's like pretty much he's a very talented young man. But now, put it this way. You're 24 and he's 21 and he's beating you though. So he's making you step up at the same time, but he's the one, actually the 24-year-old is the one that brought you up. And then all of a sudden he surpasses you. So what do? You step up. So I'm watching these two brothers just like you two. You know, you're stepping each other's games up to another level. That's what's, I think you guys just keep going this way. I think you're going to step up another level. And all of a sudden you're going to go, what the heck? We're like smoking everybody today, you know, and that's the key.
Mike, thank you very much. I appreciate you thanking me for being here, and it's my honor to be here. It really is. It's been a privilege to get to know you and to understand your history and your legacy of your history and your story, and I'm glad that you're putting on these podcasts with Adam and you're helping him and supporting each other. And I think that's the important part with my brother and my family. That we are treating each other like family. It's about the camaraderie and the things we can share and the enjoyment we have and the fun we have. So I really appreciate you, bringing me on and supporting not only Adam, but myself and my family, my brothers, and on my race team, and encouraging us to do more. And I think that's great. So I do appreciate you. I thank you. And I'm excited to
well, thank
be
you.
here.
That means a lot to me. That really does. And like I said, Adam always supported everybody he believes in. That's the key. You find certain people, and you go, I like that guy. There's something about that guy, And so then you support that guy because there's something you believe in. We want to hear about your future and about your results too, what's coming up. What do you think about that, Adam?
Oh, that's fantastic.
You should have one there.
These participation trophies suck. I want to see this thing come back with a first place win. Get your shit together. Get them back here and let's do a recap on this thing. Let's button it up. I mean, these second place things, like second. No, let's get it first.
Let's go win. Come on, let's go win.
All right. Well, here, we got to close it out now. Thanks for joining us again at Legends and Heroes Time Machine on Throttle Junkie TV on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and like I always say, get off the couch and ride, and we'll see you next time here on Legends and Heroes Time Machine.
Sex, because somebody would take offense to that, but it was really, really good.